If you love what we do, then please consider supporting CryptFail on Patreon. Your support helps us grow and to create more content more often. And now, on with the show.
I guess we are on the road.
So through the bushes ahead of you, about 15 feet, bursts Genosuke, and he spins around and slices a Ronin through the chest that follows him, and then he spins around and drops the second one. And he turns and he sees you, and he pulls out a small black box. It's only a few inches long and a couple of inches tall, and it's quite pretty. And he tosses it to Chiaki,
Who will catch it and look at it in confusion.
Group of Ronin are about 50 feet away, charging through the thicket to your left, and he yells at you, "I've been hired by an important tea house to deliver a teacup, and their chief artisan has created it. A rival is trying to disrupt this transfer. Get it to safety and I will meet up with you." He runs off in the opposite direction, and they start to split up. Some are coming for you, and some are going after him.
Are we meant to fight them or run?
Well, Daisuke does not have a fondness for Ronin, so he is throwing his bow.
And you can see about 10 coming for you. So,
Oh dear.
I think perhaps we should leave. Chiaki's got the teacup, and she is turning around and darting into the woods. She's very familiar with the woods and finds moving through them quite easy, and she's also very good at doing so very quietly. I believe it would be air or water, but I am not quite sure.
Well, Daisuke knocks and launches an arrow and runs after Chiaki. Rin, on the other hand, is looking a little bit confused and perplexed because of the whole situation, and looking at Genosuke, and
He's run off. He's gone.
okay, so I guess Rin will just plow along the road then.
Success. I have 2 success.
The first guy that's out in front, the arrow slams right in the middle of his chest, and he flies back 2 feet. Daisuke an opportunity to run off into the woods.
She had a bit of a head start as she started running before anyone else, with, of course, the exception of Genosuke. And so as soon as she got into the woods and was more familiar with the terrain, she did not really have a lot of trouble making her way quickly farther on and then hiding behind a tree. So as she is sort of crouching, hiding, holding the teacup, being as quiet as possible and trying not even to breathe so that none of them hear, they continue on charging past very loudly compared to how quiet she is trying to be. And she still waits as she's not sure if they have all gone past.
Daisuke is racing through the trees. Just a brief glimpse of her until she disappears with the Ronin in hot pursuit. And as he runs past Chiaki, who he notices, ends up behind a tree, and after a while, Daisuke waits until he can no longer hear them, and then makes his way back to Chiaki.
Who is still staring at the box, a little unsure of what to do with it.
And he kneels down in front of Chiaki. I think we should get back to the road and maybe find Rin.
Yes, we should do so. And she will stand up and start heading back for the road.
I can't believe Genosuke threw you. What is that again?
He said it was a teacup and that we needed to... Did he say we needed to get it to safety and he would find us, or were we supposed to bring it to the tea house? I do not recall.
No, it happened all so fast.
Yes, he was contracted to bring it to a tea house, but somebody attacked and... Yes, I am unsure. Do you think we should check to see if it remains unbroken, or would it be incorrect to open the box?
I have no idea.
I see. Chiaki is going to try and open the box slightly to see if there is a still whole teacup inside.
There is a teacup inside. It is ceramic with blue carps on it.
I wonder why anyone would attack over it.
I'm not sure either. It is Genosuke after all, but
And Chiaki will close the box again and continue on to the road. And once we get back to the road, Chiaki is just looking to see if Rin is in sight.
and when Rin returns, she signs. What was that about?
I am not sure. Genosuke said he was hired to... I believe to transport this teacup somewhere, and on the way was attacked?
And she signs overstatement.
They have gone. They passed us in the woods.
With her right hand open up, she puts it towards her chin and brings it down onto
Good.
her other hand in front of her. Yep.
Yes, it is good. And she gets a very slight smile and says, although not unexpected.
And Daisuke looks like he remembers something and then darts off into the forest in the direction where they appeared from. So I think he's going to go off and see if he can't look for the one that he shot.
All right, Chiaki looks a bit confused as he runs off, but she stays there. And Chiaki is checking to see if Amaya was worried by any of this.
No, and she actually looks quite happy that she was able to get out and
Run.
and go for a bit of a run.
Well, at least Amaya is pleased.
And Rin nods.
I do not know what we are supposed to do now. I am unsure if we wait for Genosuke to return. I do not know where he was taking this.
And Rin looks behind her down the road and turns back, and she signs maybe the next town.
That is a good idea if it is not where we are meant to be, at least they might know the tea house.
And Rin thinks about this. True.
Well, when Daisuke is back, I suppose we can continue. And when he gets back, Chiaki will say, Saito-san suggested we continue on to the next town as we are unsure where to take this.
And I couldn't find anything on the dead Ronin. So that's probably our best course of action. Although, why people would be fighting over a teacup, I do not understand. And Rin automatically frowns at this and looks daggers at Daisuke into the back of his head, and feeling this onset of pain shooting through the back of his head.
Hurts? When Rin glares at you?
Sensing that he may have said something, he turns to walk down the road, but not turning towards Rin, but turning away, and sort of walks past Rin, who's still staring glaringly at him.
And Chiaki will follow, hanging very tightly onto the box with the teacup because she doesn't know why anyone's fighting over it, but she doesn't want to break it. And we continue on our way.
Mm-hmm.
And you arrive at the river. And it's about 150 feet across. And there is a small ferry that looks like it heads along to the next town.
Should we continue on? He did say he would find us, did he not?
And Daisuke turns to Chiaki. Yes, I do believe he did say he would find us.
If he has not done so yet, should we cross the river?
I see no reason why not.
All right.
Old man, how much for a ride across the ferry?
1 silver per person, Samurai-san.
Anyone have change for a koku?
Anyone have change for Daisuke pulls out 3 silver coins from his coin pouch. And hands it to the old man.
He looks a little embarrassed. Why 3, Samurai-san?
We may require another coin for Amaya?
And he bows low and says, I must apologize. There is no way I can take the horse.
Rather than wait here, and Rin's gesturing again, I'll ride around to the north.
Depending on how long that would take, it may only make it harder to reunite with you.
And she turns, she leads, pulls on the reins as she pulls Amaya's head around, and the horse leads around to the left, and she rides off down the road at a sort of a trot. And Daisuke slips a silver coin back into his purse and hands over 2 silver.
And he takes it and bows and puts it in a small pouch on his belt.
And I guess Daisuke will get onto the ferry.
And then Chiaki will step onto it as well.
And it's one of those, the ferryman has to stand and pulls it back and forth. And he begins his journey. After about, you think it's a couple of hours by the sun moving through the sky, you can see ahead that there is a medium-sized town. And it definitely does have a road entry, but it was on the opposite side bank. And you did pass it becomes like a Y, where the river opens up into 2 different branches. And you can see that they must rely on the river for a few different things. It gets wider near the town because there's definite docks that you can see. Not like European docks, but there's definite docks, and there's multiple boats. And you passed another ferry going in the opposite direction with a couple of ladies and a couple of gents who must be heading somewhere. So anyone who must be going in a more northerly direction can do so from the land. It must just be the way this particular part of the land is shaped and the direction you are coming from. But you can see it, you can smell it. You're familiar with this sort of size town. Probably 2,000 or 3,000 people. And it's about 1.5 kilometers away. You can see it down the river.
So, as the ferry is approaching the town, Chiaki has been looking at the river with some concern. But she suddenly stops and stares at a particular part of it and says, "There are bubbles in the water." But before she really gets a chance to elaborate on that, an archer who was in the reeds at the side of the river fires an arrow, I assume, towards us?
Which barely misses Chiaki and slams into the ferryman, who throws up his arms and falls off the back of the boat.
And she looks very surprised as an arrow flies by her face, and then quite shocked to see the ferryman has been struck.
And in traditional samurai theatre, the water explodes as several Ronin leap out of the water and start clambering onto the boat, which is getting very wobbly. And player action.
Okay, Chiaki would like to kick the hands of the one nearest to her, trying to get him to let go. Which is trying to get him to let go. So Chiaki was very much not expecting Ronan to leap out of the water and attempt to climb onto the boat, so she did not necessarily do anything reasonable, but she does start kicking at the hands of the closest one. He does not let go immediately, and before he actually has to let go and falls behind the fairy, he grabs onto her ankle, so she actually falls down onto the floor of the ferry and is now no longer standing. But he does let go and fall behind.
Well, Daisuke will back up towards the back of the boat where where the ferryman fell off, drawing his bow. And now, whether this is going to work or not, he's going to fire off a flurry of arrows. Daisuke backs up, drops down his quiver and draws out a couple of arrows and fires off a quick suppression of about half a dozen arrows, which almost empties his quiver. And he shoots towards the front of the boat where the Ronin are trying to get in, and some of the arrows land, hitting the boat just in front of the Ronin trying to get in onto the boat, and two of them fall back into the water.
One is swimming for the shore. He's decided it's not worth dying for. One is delayed.
Okay.
Two pull themselves onto the boat, but they can't attack at the same time because it's still sort of narrow. The first one swings with his katana. He looks like he's got some training, but the boat isn't what he's usually trained on, so it's a little bit more haphazard than normal. It does hit Chiaki,
Okay.
and then slides along, but instead of being a solid blow like he expected, it does graze her arm for 2 points of damage instead of 4.
Ooh, I'm glad it's 2 instead of 4.
And the rival, who is the archer, hits what he thinks is the biggest threat, which is Daisuke. For
Rude
3.
archer.
A arrow doesn't embed in him, but it slashes past, cutting the front of his tunic and some of his stomach before hitting the oar.
All right. So Chiaki's basically, she was knocked down before, which is why she wasn't particularly able to evade being slashed in the arm, and is very thankful for the armor, but she's going to attempt to scramble to her feet and strike back at the guy who slashed her arm. She scrambles to her feet, nearly slips and falls, considering the boat is rocking, what with people fighting on it, and it is had water splashing up on it, so the wood itself is a bit slippery. But as she sort of stumbles forwards, she manages to get a solid hit in on his shoulder with the katana. As he falls into the water, blood sort of spreads through it in clouds of red, and she assumes he's not going to resurface.
He looks to where the arrow came from, turns back to the arrow that's embedded into the oar beside him. He yanks the arrow out of the oar, notches it, draws up high above his head as it flies true, striking the archer square in the chest as he realizes that his own arrow just got returned to him. And as he falls into the water, spins around and his back slaps top of the river.
One gets up at the back of the boat. One gets out of the water and sees that his boss is dead, and he's kind of happy that that's the case because he was kind of worried that his boss was going to kill him.
Oh.
And you see him running off into the forest. One has a great big swing at Chiaki, misses, and the katana slams into the deck, lodging itself.
She swings back at him, but also misses, and she ends up sort of slashing too far, and her blade hits the water, but not the Ronin.
2 blacks.
Yep, I got literally nothing.
Not even...
Nothing.
Daisuke draws his last arrow from his quiver, and the arrow flies true and hits, can't balance the boat, and he's clambering, and the boat finally capsizes into the river and sinks swiftly as everyone goes into the water, and Daisuke loses the grip he had on his bow. Everything starts floating everywhere. He starts floundering in the water, yelling, I can't swim! And he disappears beneath the river's murky, foreboding depths.
Chiaki was not expecting to be swimming, so it takes her sort of a moment to get over the shock of suddenly being submerged, but she is a fairly strong swimmer, and upon hearing Daisuke panic, she will swim towards where he went under the water and attempt to find him. So she will grab onto his clothing and attempt to pull him towards the shore. And she's swimming a bit clumsily because she can swim well, but she's not swum in armor before. That is new, so it's a little bit heavier than she's used to. But very slowly, I assume she will be able to pull him to the shore.
At the start, flailing, but then realizes that, Chiaki's got him, so he sort of stops flailing when he realizes that he's not sinking.
And she actually loses her grip on him the first few times when he's flailing around, but she will grab a hold again and keep swimming for the shore. And when they finally reach it, she will sort of attempt to drag him up onto it. But if he's gotten there, I assume he can also help
Yep.
with that.
And he'll drag himself up, and he's like, coughing up fluid.
Are you all right? Yeah, so I'm spending a void point to say she's managed to somehow tuck this box into her clothing somewhere or something else so it's not floated off down the river.
Yeah. I forgot how much I hate water.
It is not pleasant. And Jackie doesn't look like she was exactly scared by the experience. She looks more like a cat that's fallen into the water and is annoyed by it.
Daisuke is pulling himself away from the water and further up the bank, taking away from it, and he's just laying there on his back. I certainly hope Rin's having a better go of it than we are.
I do hope she's all right. Why do you think they attacked us?
Maybe over that stupid box you're carrying.
That... so many people want a teacup? We should continue to the town and perhaps find bandages?
And he looks down at his stomach.
Are you able to walk?
Oh, let me see. And he sort of rolls over on his side and gets up and to his knees and stands up, holding his stomach. He's like nods.
Then I think we should move on in case any return.
I think that is wise.
And she will start walking towards the town.
Mm-hmm.
And you get there. There's nothing to obstruct your movement. Several peasants that are coming and going, or merchants, sort of look at your dripping, dishevelled look. They are somewhat curious, but out of politeness, they do not ask. They just nod, bow politely, as if this was an everyday occurrence, as they continue on their way, and you're leaving a nice wet trail behind you. And you arrive in the town. So it's a medium-sized town, so there's definitely several inns, so you can...
I suppose we should look for an inn. Whether or not we can find Genosuke, we could at least wait for Rin there. Town of Yayakikai?
Okay. I think finding an inn would be good, or at least a public place, but
An inn could have bandages, perhaps, and tea. And Chiaki is shivering slightly because we just fell in the water and it's cold. So Chiaki is shivering. All right, Chiaki's looking for an inn because she's
Okay.
cold,
And
bleeding.
you can find one. Yep, you can find one. They're a lot of them initially are close to the entrance of town, so they're obviously trying to get people's attention. And you can see the banner that hangs that denotes an inn.
And even though she was looking for it, she still hesitates at the door and turns to Daisuke as if to say, should we go in?
Daisuke nods.
And she will wait for him to enter.
Daisuke walks in,
And Chiaki will follow behind.
takes a nearby empty table if there is one.
Yep, it's about half full. People are eating and drinking.
Mm-hmm.
There's a fire burning on the far side.
Yep.
Which is wonderful and appreciated.
And if someone comes over, Daisuke says, sake and food.
The waitress bows, takes a couple of steps and sort of looks back, then decides not to ask and goes out the back to get the food.
Yep. So we've chosen a table that's near the fire, hopefully.
Okay.
Preferably.
It's half full, so yeah, that's possible. And you get your food and your drinks. Chiaki having sake or tea?
I mean, she would have preferred tea, but it was not ordered, so she will sort of cautiously sip the sake because she's not sure about it.
And a couple of hours later, Genosuke walks in and he snaps his finger at the waitress and he says, "Sake!" And he walks over and sits down at your table. The hell happened to you?
You have caused us some issue, old man.
And he points at himself like completely confused and he's like, "Me?"
And Daisuke points to his open wound.
Why did you let that happen?
Because you let it happen.
Me? I wasn't there.
The ferry was ambushed.
That was unfortunate.
Oh, should we notify the magistrate?
I still think you should find a bandage before anything else. Especially if he's drinking sake. Alcohol's a blood thinner.
Oh, it's like starting to crust up.
The sake?
Sake's crusty up.
Yes, it is. It's very strange, and we're all staring at it.
Crusty sake.
This town's specialty.
Yeah.
And Chiaki will hold out the box to Genosuke.
Oh, right. And he takes it and he opens it up and it's wet and that.
Yes.
And he looks at it and he closes it and he leans over and tosses it in the bin. And he reaches in and he pulls out a bag and he drops it on the table in front of you and there's some coin. You hear the sound of coin.
And Chiaki's just looking confused.
Really good job. There's your cut.
Could you
So it's profitable knowing me.
explain, possibly?
Which part?
Perhaps all of it.
Well, I was paid by an artisan who's doing a new series of cups. And I think there was also maybe a teapot as well. But he's very prestigious, apparently. And he had a rival. And the rival has not been very happy with this, so he was trying to disrupt the transfer. I had to take a sample of the work to the samurai lord in the area who was commissioning the said piece. And yeah, so he hired me because he heard I was a very talented Ronin, bounty hunter, warrior, womanizer, or everything that you could think of, and therefore it would be safe with me. And so that's what we did, yeah.
And have you brought it to him?
Oh yeah, he's already got it.
I see.
Oh, that! He points at the... I picked that up from a peasant in the last town as a decoy.
So, a decoy?
Worked brilliantly. And you've got some coin in your pocket for your trouble.
Well, I hope it's enough to replace the bow that I lost.
Why did you lose your bow?
If it is not enough for a bow, I also have money.
Seriously, Daisuke, why is it that you are overcomplicating things?
What do you mean overcomplicating?
Getting wounded, losing your bow.
If it wasn't for you throwing us that scrappy tea box, we wouldn't have been in this mess.
If it wasn't for me throwing you that scrappy tea box, you wouldn't have coin in your pocket, my son.
It is difficult to not be wounded when 6 Ronin ambush your ferry.
Well, you're here. They're not. You killed the lot.
Daisuke looks in the pouch.
There is 30 silver.
Not even enough to buy half a bow.
Say lose your bow, did I?
What would you do with half of a bow?
Well, probably a little bit more than I could do with a full bow. No, probably a little bit more than I could do with no bow. Yes.
Well, I am pleased that it went well for you, but the ferryman did lose his life. So,
Well, that was unfortunate, and that wasn't the plan. I actually thought that they were going to chase me, and some of them did, but I think you ended up with the boss.
Saito-san is not going to be pleased.
Probably not. And that's why I'm going to leave. And he gets up and he walks to the door and he stops and he turns around. Be seeing you. Abayo. And he waves and he walks out into the street.
Unbelievable.
I suppose it is good he did not die?
Unbelievable. Daisuke pours himself another sake and quickly swigs it.
How much has he had? We've been here a few hours.
He's probably had a bit.
Since she's not allowed to drink when Rin turns up.
Chiaki hasn't even finished one cup because she doesn't know if she likes it. Well, Chiaki will eat some food, mostly ignore the sake, and wait for Rin to get there.
When Rin finally arrives,
Mm-hmm.
she shuffles in through the door of the tavern. And Daisuke is well and truly inebriated to the point where he's passed out on the table. And
Which Chiaki was very not sure what to do about, and so has just remained sitting there.
you have no idea what to do.
Oh, definitely not.
And Rin looks over disapprovingly and signs, "What's with him?"
He drank a lot of sake and fell asleep.
Has Genosuke arrived?
He was here. He informed us that the cup we had was not the real one, and he gave it to us as a distraction. He left 30 silver and went away before you got here.
And she notices the cut on your arm. I'm assuming you had a cut on your arm?
Yes.
Did you have a cut? Yeah.
Yes, I did.
And
A third of your health kind of cut.
Yeah. Are you okay?
It is not as bad as Daisuke's wound. I said that he should get a bandage, but he said it was fine.
Ugh, idiot. And then she looks at Chiaki with a one good eye and an eyebrow raises, and then her eye narrows. If you are wounded, why did you not seek healing immediately?
Well, everything happened very quickly, and Daisuke could not swim, and then it was very cold, and we came here.
And she signs quite furiously. No excuses. And she raises a hand to get the attention of the waiter or the innkeeper or whoever it is.
Someone.
Just someone.
Mm-hmm.
She signs, bring me a healer.
She says to please bring a healer.
Very good. And she talks quickly to the innkeeper and then runs out.
I cannot let you two go anywhere.
The ferry was ambushed. It was not our intent.
I understand, but you have to be careful. I can't afford to lose either of you.
I am happy that you did not meet with any of the Ronin.
I am sorry that you had.
I am sorry for the ferryman.
I am also sorry for the ferryman.
Somehow managed to make that sound disapproving. I am also sorry.
I'm sorry, ferryman. I didn't really mean it that way. If you're listening.
If you're listening, dead ferryman. Oh, dead fictional ferryman, if you're listening.
Yeah.
This one's dedicated to you. We're sorry
Mm-hmm.
that you died. Daisuke was hit by an arrow, I think. It happened very quickly and then the boat tipped, but his stomach is wounded and it does not look good.
The healer will fix it.
The Legend of the Five Rings role-playing game is available from Edge Studios, starring RavenInsane as Rin, Emily as Chiaki, and Ghost as the storyteller. Sounds and music were provided by Sirenscape and Nash Music Library. This has been a Critfail production. Thank you very much for listening. Heard you say like that is interesting. It's
Well,
winter.
It is winter, and we are cold and shivering.
And do the cats like the cold?
This is the vampire theory all over again.
But not in this house. Not in this river. That river. Not this
But do
river.
cats eat rice in other houses? But do cats?
Interesting.
Now I'm wondering if cats eat rice. This is something I'm gonna have to.
I should have made a cat character, but I didn't. Sorry, Adam.
Yeah.